Good morning. Oh, I got to switch this. Hello, I am Bill, and thanks very much for coming in today. Happy Friday. Um, Today, we are going to talk about my diorama. That was this picture here. It's Barrett's basement. So this is my D&D diorama. It's a big diorama, but I've been really kind of concentrating on the lower, like the basement to Barrett's coffee house. And let's go back to these slides because, oops, I got to do that. Here it shows a little bit about what this diorama is about. So today we're going to be looking at the basement, and I went from just pink foam to painted, which is nice. And then I worked on these barrels, and these barrels were a heck of a deal. I did not know what color I wanted. And then we're going to have a Backstage Access 11 video preview, which is the video that I have coming out tomorrow. And that's on my last like diorama that I finished, but I mean it was like a 9-month project, so it's like a lot of videos. It's not like one video. Well, I'm confusing myself. It's one video, but it's just like a small part of it because it's just such a, it's got what, 5 levels. World War I, 1/35th scale, so they're like tiny. So I'm just kind of doing one section of it at a time. So that comes out tomorrow. But it's also about the shop because the Backstage Access videos that I do are really about they're really about what's coming up. Like this current project, the Barrett's Coffee House. I'm so confused. That's really what I really focus on in that kind of video. And so what I'm going to try to do, I'm sounding confused because I'm reading this as I'm trying to say this, but I want to explain how these videos are going to come out on Saturdays because I'm doing long form videos on Saturdays. And that's what I'm previewing today is one of those, but they're different. It's about my next video coming out, but it's also about what I'm doing in the video for the current project and the last project that I'm video editing. Yeah, it's very confusing to me too. So we'll get there and hopefully it'll be a little bit better. So let's look at this. The diorama is on the left, and that's a little earlier picture. I've done some nicer painting on it now, but it's like one of the ones that shows how big this thing is. It's 45 inches tall. So this is meant to be played, but then taken apart. So you can take a level and remove it just like this. This is the level we're going to be concentrating on today. You can just remove the whole level and then play it. But when it's all stacked like this on the left, then it still should look pretty cool. And part of the game, as you're playing it, should be played with it all stacked up. That's how the game starts. These are all based on my favorite fantasy author and the books that I started reading in the 80s, Magician by Raymond Feist. And I keep showing this Magician, cover because that's the first book that I read. But Barrett's Coffee House, this diorama, is really about his second series of books. And it was not the Rift War. That was the first one. This is the Serpent War Saga. And this is the second book of that 3-book series. And it talks about this guy basically going to business. Now, there's a lot to that. But I had never read anything, set medieval times, based on a D&D game, because that's where Midkemia, the whole world that he writes in, that's where it came from. He's a D&D player when he was in college with his friends. And that world that they created by playing D&D, he started writing books about it. And that was the first book that I read early on, Magician. It's a wonderful book. It's a really, really fun, adventurous, dragons and magicians, and hence the title. But then later on, he gets into stuff like this kid's going into business. It's literally him trying to go into business in medieval times. That is so cool. As I was reading this, I had been out of the military for a while, and I start reading this book. I'm in business. I'm doing kind of different things like that at different jobs and things like that. So I felt connections with all of his books that he's written. And that was one of the things that I loved about it. There was a connection to reading these books. There was a connection either with a character or a situation, but so far removed from today. It's medieval times, but I mean, it's in a different world, a different planet, really. But still, there was that really deep connection, and that's why I loved it. So when I started thinking about this diorama based on these books, based on these storylines, based on these characters and places that Mr. Feist had created, it really excited me. And so I kind of go on and on about this, but the point is I want to bring that excitement through, because the images that I'm creating, and I keep saying this a fair amount, frankly, the images that are coming through as I'm creating this diorama are my images of what I read and not someone else's interpretation. The visual references that I'm putting into this diorama are all based on just my imagination and the writings of Raymond Feist. So I really like that. If I did Lord of the Rings, I would be influenced by Peter Jackson and the designers and the artists, the wonderful artists that Howe and all those guys. Not a bad thing, but I think it's neat that I'm coming up with my own version based on all those other things. Certainly, they're playing into that vision, but I'm coming up with my own vision for this, and I just love that. So that's one of the things that's fun. And when you're talking about building a long diorama, something like this is a pretty good sized diorama. There's a lot that goes into it. And there's a lot of details that go into it. As I said, my last diorama was 9 months. If you're going to go into something like that, I really think it's a good idea to have a very strong connection or a very strong storyline or a passionate feeling about the subject, because when you do something for that long, it takes a lot of these, man, I got to get over this hump, or, oh man, I don't want to work on this today, or, I get artist block. That was some of the questions that we sometimes have in the comments. And it's wonderful to talk about that stuff, because everybody, I think, feels it. But that's, I think, one of the reasons that I'm able to get past some of those things is the excitement for the storyline, the base material, the books that I read. I'm re-entering. I got to reread the book because I'm starting to get into details that I haven't read this book as many times as I've read Magician. I read Magician virtually every year. Maybe not the whole thing, but large swaths of it, because I just love the characters and I love the storyline and I love the world that Mr. Feist created. And by creating that world, it gave me the image for the diorama, and I want to try to give that image back. I want to try to create this diorama in such a way that I'm able to communicate the ideas, the storyline, what you would do next in an adventure. You know what I mean? As you're working through this diorama, you have to, in a campaign, a D&D campaign, you're going to need to be able to, move into an area, and not only on the DM's narration and storyline, I want you to walk in there and go, oh, these are some of the things I'm gonna have to deal with. These are some of the things that I'm gonna have to encounter and overcome, or whatever, in your as you're playing the diorama, the D&D game in the diorama, or Warhammer, whatever, it's kind of meant to be played whatever. It's just a scene to play within. I want some of those things to come out. I don't want it to be just the DM narration, which is a wonderful thing when you think about it. Your dungeon master, the person that puts together the game, they put in and build the storyline that's supposed to be intriguing and fun and interesting and takes people on a journey And to be able to go on that journey with minimal input, minimal tactile things and stuff like that, like I'm doing in my diorama, I mean, that is a skill well and above itself. But for someone who's not as maybe well versed in that thing, for me, a diorama builder, um, building the scene, building the depth of reality, hopefully that people will engage in the diorama, is hugely important to me. So there you go. I hope that wasn't just like, wow, what is this guy talking about? But designing your diorama, having that passion, having that deep story, having that motivation to keep going through the entire lengthy process, if you're doing something big like this, is something to consider maybe going in and making sure that you're really excited about that subject. That can help a lot. Okay, so I need to say hello to some folks. Mark Doremus is here. Hello. Or no, I'm sorry. This is Mark D. Maker. See, I have a friend, Mark Doremus, who's a Patreon follower. But this is Mark D. Maker. Thanks very much, Mark, for coming in. Mark was in before. I don't believe it was last week, but I do remember you coming in. So thanks very much, Mark, for coming in. Hello. Scott's here. Hello. Congratulations on your 10K subscribers, Bill. You definitely deserve it. Thank you so much, Scott. That's really kind of cool. On my YouTube channel, I just went over 10,000 subscribers on the channel. Who knew? I mean, I look at it, every day. I look because I'm doing uploads and all that kind of stuff. But it's one of those things that you wait on, and then all of a sudden it's there. And it was really, really cool. So thank you very much, Scott. I really, really appreciate that. Homefront Forge is here. Hello. Thanks very much for coming in, Daniel. And then Paul came in very early this morning. So thanks very much for coming in. So let's get back to this. I would love to show you what I did this week, as well as discuss some of that. And like I said, there is going to be a preview of tomorrow's full-length video drop, and it's a backstage video. So it's kind of what's happening behind the scenes. All right, so let's go back to this. Over here, I got to get over here. Sorry. This is the mechanical linkage that I'm trying to build underneath the diorama to move a gate. So let me come back to you here and give you some basis for what the heck I'm talking about. This is the sewer level of the diorama. And in one side of it, I've got a water wheel. And I love the idea of the water wheel, but its purpose, it needed to have some type of function, right? And so what it's going to do is inside this room, this is an alchemist laboratory. It's underground. It's in a sewer. It's very creepy and stuff like that. But before I can really build that out, what I need to do is figure out what this water wheel is going to do. Well, over here, same place in the sewer, there is like an old well, or it's a hole. And that hole underneath has a gate. And this is that gate. And what I want to happen is for the water wheel to be able to be engaged and disengaged to open and close. So I want that water wheel to be kind of mysterious, because you don't know that Mr. Alchemist Lab is there if you're in the sewer until you find it, because it's going to have a secret door. Then you can kind of figure out, hey, if we use this water wheel, I can open that gate, and that gets us down to the temple below. So it's a very integral part from moving through the diorama. Well, this is underneath what I just showed you, and you can see the cutout. You can see in there where I've got, this little piece and some rudimentary kind of a thing where I'm making it open and close. Well, the point is, I haven't been able to figure it out yet. That was like the next thing I was working on a week ago. And I just, kind of hit the wall. I didn't know exactly how to do it, because there's a slight angle from they're not tangential, that shaft and the direction that I need to move that gate don't directly align. So about like 3 to 4, 7 degrees off. I haven't measured it. It's just like a little bit off. So I have to deal with that. And the other thing is holding it steady enough so that a mechanical device will actually work. So that's what I decided to do. I have not fixed this yet, but here it says I'm moving to a cartridge assembly, and what that means is this little cutout below. The stability of pink foam is great in large sizes, but to try to hold something like this, it's just ridiculous. If you look at this little, I've just got it in there. It's not stable in there, and so it can't do a full movement, a cyclical movement. So what I'll do is I'll build the entire movement as a cartridge and then set the cartridge in, meaning that I'll be able to engineer all of the movement of the gate, how it connects to the water wheel to include the off canter angle, and then engineer it in a way that it can just literally be slipped in the bottom. I've been going around and around and around it. Scott McLeod gave us a great idea, which is the first one I'm going to pursue. I've got other ideas that are possibilities, but the counterweight, where it automatically wants to stay closed, and maybe there's a latch, I haven't gotten that far yet, but that gate automatically wants to stay closed, and by engaging the water wheel, that just opens it. Right there, that simplifies the movement, because the counterweight is constantly pulling on it, and I'll have like a slip lever because I'm using ropes. Remember, it's got to be kind of period accurate is what I'm hoping for. When we look at this, wrong camera. When we look at this here, I need this to be able to open and close so people can come out. So I don't really need any interaction here. It's just everything that works in here in this, that's where everything has to be, perfect, and accurate and camber and all that kind of stuff. So that is what I am working on. And I think next week is a good day for that. You're going to see how far I've gotten on the barrels and the underground and the basement and stuff like that. And there's more to do, certainly, but to work on this on the side would be great next week and try to get that done, because then I could just literally slip it in. Done. Okay. So it may seem like I didn't do a lot there, but this has literally been one of those things that hung me this week. I was literally hung up. I did not know how or which solution. I think I explained this last time. I've got an idea, but until something, solid comes out, I don't know. So anyway, I hope that's okay. I got that. Let me go see where the heck we're going. Babadi. We're going over here. Next, Barrett's basement. So Barrett's basement last week, it looked like this. This is all pink foam. I hadn't done the back walls, the back walls in the back. That was just, still pink foam and stuff like that. I liked how I laid stuff in, but I hadn't started painting anything yet. Here are the mini art barrels, and I really like these. There's 18 barrels in here, 6 large and then 12 smaller barrels. They all have stands so they can stand on the side. And they also have bungs, and they also have taps. But the taps are like modern taps. They're metal taps, like maybe a brass or something like that. I don't know what they actually use for the taps. Being medieval, it can't be that kind of a tap. It has to be a wooden tap. So when I'm building these, I'm just like slapping them together, very cavalier. I'm thinking, oh yeah, it's just fine. Well, here's the problem. I did it, and on top, you can't see that for squat, sorry. But if you look in this picture, on top, we've got the bung on the side of the barrel. Well, in the face of it, when it's laid down like this, there should be a hole right at the bottom. And these slats here should be perpendicular to the ground, or parallel to the ground, I should say. And they're not. They're all just cattywampus. I just totally hosed them up. Now, I didn't really plan on having these tapped. They're in a storage area, but in reality, they're not going to be hauling a barrel upstairs to serve it. They're going to fill a flagon or something like that and bring it up and then pour out of that. Right. So, yeah, I don't know. I'll work it out. But that was just one of those things, cautionary deals. Even the little tiniest things sometimes. Somebody's engineered this and they did a darn nice job. They're really nicely made. And I didn't pay attention. So don't make my mistake. Make sure that the little hole, and I have pictures of it later, the little hole is at the bottom when these things are set up, like 180 from the bung that's on the top there. Hey, I got some other folks saying hello, so I'd like to say hello. Stephen is here. Hello, Stephen. Good afternoon, all. Thanks very much for coming in. And Scott said hi. And then Model Officer James Skippett. Hello, James. How are you? I hope you are doing well. Well, hello, all. 10K. Wow, well done. Thanks very much. I really appreciate it, James. Like I said, I wanted to get to 10K certainly, but I didn't know it was coming up that quick. It just boom. That it was like last Sunday morning. Woke up, it literally said 10K. I was like, wow, that's so cool. John is here. Hello, John. Hi, Bill. Love the random angles on that stone floor. Isn't that fun? Thank you very much, John. The things that I love about that, and let me get some pictures of that because we're gonna go to painting and stuff real quick. And I didn't get great. We're going to come back to the crates. But let's go through this and then we're going to look at that stone floor. So here is the wall behind Barrett's basement. And then here is the floor that I put in. And then I put just a wash of those and I started working on the back stone wall. And then I just used those brass punches that I made, the DIY brass punches. I've shown you how to do them. And then I just literally did some really careful, cautious painting, as you can tell there on the bottom. I'm trying to be facetious. And then I went ahead and finished the top part. And then the pink color is the spackle that I put in. Because after I punch these, by putting that spackle in, it really does give a nice cohesive look. And I love the look of this specifically because I think of, old Roman, this is after the Romans left England. And so these old Roman constructions, forts, even roads, that's why you see cobbles in that wall there. The smallest ones are supposed to be cobbles. They used whatever they could to build, back up, and some of that stuff is still there. So now I do want to go over painting and because it's actually wash, but I want to show you how I did it and what I did because I do like how it came out. I love the greens in it. I thought I was going to have more blue. I never did do blue because there's some blue flagstone, but I also found out that blue flagstone is from the US. So it's more greenish flagstone in Europe. So yeah, I'm really happy with how, this part came out. And well, okay, so let me go back. I was going to talk about, well, I think it was just the colors. So let's do that real quick because that next slide, I've got the preview of tomorrow's video, which is the backstage. So that's a whole other topic. But I want to talk to you about, I'm going to move this out of the way and show you the washes that I used on this because I mean they're not it's nothing groundbreaking, but it's probably really nice to know if you're looking to get something of the same look. And I wouldn't even say the same look. I think a lot of times when I see somebody else do something online, I'm like, okay, I kind of want to get close there. I see how they did it, but then I want to put my own thing to it. So if you use what I have, and put your own slate down and then just use that for the springboard of what you want to do to it. I think that's great. Hopefully I've contributed something to that. So let's go over here. I'm going to change my angle-y thingamajogger. There we go. And so this is that floor and we're going to look at barrels next. But to get them, I'll just bring this back. To get that floor, these are the colors that I use. Not that one. Is that? No. I need one more. Sorry. I'm as organized as I ever am. Yes, dark yellow. So this one was kind of fun. This is desert dust, and this desert dust gave me a really neat color over some of the others. This is what the desert dust did. These kind of lighter, almost yellow kind of colors here. Those did great. This is streaking grime. These are all acrylic, by the way, so it's nice to work with the water and stuff like that. Streaking grime, that's where I got this stuff. I did do some shading on the wood here too, and I really like how that went in. As I'm doing this kind of a process, I'm doing it wet. I keep the surface wet with the acrylics, and I'm not putting any retarders or anything, but by keeping it wet, it's a lot easier to blend those colors. And if you kind of stick with it, you know, as it starts to dry out, then I'll add a little bit more color to a certain area. Because when it's wet, let's go back to the deal here. When it's wet, it's really hard sometimes here to get definitions between this and that. I'm gonna get real tight here and see if that helps any. To get a color variance between here and here, because there's not really a border. Here it was much easier. You know, I've got these indentations, stuff like that, but this has been smoothed out like a walkway. And because that's been smoothed out and almost pitted of years of walking back and forth and moving barrels in and stuff like that, the lines aren't there to give you really a clear delineation between two of the stones. So as it's drying, then I'm coming back in and I'm just dabbing some of these different washes. These are the ones I use. These are just like milk cap lids. And I just, you know, put my different colors in there. And then I bring those colors in as it's drying. And I really am happy with it. It's not supposed to look regular. Whoops. My camera does that. Sorry. It's not supposed to look regular. Again, this is all stuff that has been cobbled together from other buildings, other constructions from Romans prior to them. So I didn't want anything really even and lining up. You know, that's the whole thing about the you know, reusing materials that have been used previously. So yeah, those are the colors that I use. I will list them. I don't do that a lot, but I will list them. And I've got another one when I do the barrels. I'll show you those because I got help online from some folks' comments that really helped me kind of nail the color of these barrels. And I love the barrels. Okay, so I need to go here and do that. And then wood prep for the display base. Okay, so now I got to back some stuff up and I'm going to show you why I've got two piles of wood here. And it really goes into what's happening with the diorama. I am at the point in the diorama where I have to kind of look at what I'm going to do to finish it off. I like to build displays and things like that for dioramas. Really sometimes intricate and things like that. I think it should enhance the diorama. Well, in this instance, I've got some real needs in the diorama for a base because the lower part of the diorama, these parts that I'm working on right now, have to be covered. They need some way to be revealed during the gameplay. You want to be able to go about your game, and then as you progress underground, then things are revealed. So I'm looking at building a some kind of whatever around the base of this that either has doors or panels that can be removed or something along those lines. Now, some very interesting comments have come through about how to go about this, which I think are very fun to think about. And I like the idea, but the practicality of it might be some issues. So we'll talk about that. But I would love to show you this preview. And let me talk a little bit about this. I'm talking about the subject I'm talking about right now, what I'm going to be doing going forward with the diorama. Well, that's what this video is about. And I've got a little write-up here. This is what confused me at the beginning of the video today. I'm trying to figure out how to get long form videos back on a steady stream of release, consistent every Saturday. And to do that, once a month, I can do like a full video on my last project because everything's shot, everything's done. And so I'm going back to that footage and I'm building videos. In this instance, that is my World War I trench diorama that took 9 months. And that's what I'm working on. So I can do one of those a month. It takes a long time. There's a lot of production. There's a lot of editing. I mean, it doesn't have to be, but I like it. So that is once a month. But then those other 3 Saturdays for the month, I want to have interesting content for you. So that's what this is. This is a preview of Backstage Access. That's the name of it. And this is Backstage Access number 11. This is something I started doing for my patrons, and they liked it. They said, hey, this is fun. And then I shared it with some YouTube folks, and they said, hey, I really like that too, because it's very relaxed. It's kind of like this, but I'm walking around, and I'm showing to you, and I'm explaining, what's going on. Again, hardly any editing at all. I mean, if I make a bodily noise, there may be, but yeah, it's just like a straight video. So this is a preview of that. And it talks about what needs to happen next in this diorama and those piles of wood. So we're going to do that now. I think we're going to do that now, right now. Hello, and welcome to this week's Backstage Access. This is where I just talk about stuff that I can't do in the shorts, and I don't have time to really produce anything during the live stream. So this is just a peek. And this is what I do for my patrons, but now I after it's up on my patrons site, I do publish it on YouTube. So this is my current project. It is a medieval little building over a little section of street. And then below it, there's 2 sublevels. There's a sewer and there is a temple. And it's meant to be, a D&D diorama. Well, to play this thing, I want to have some of it, most of it exposed, this upper part. I think that'll all be exposed. Maybe this won't be exposed in the back. I can block that off real easily. But down here, I want most of this covered. And the reason is, while you're playing the game and as you progress through the upper part and stuff like that, it eventually leads you down below the streets. And as you do that, you want to be surprised by the elements that you're going to encounter down there. Even here, the basement. That's not going to be shown until something's removed. So that's what I got to figure out. I got to figure out how to make this base, this display that's going to, hold this, and in some way stabilize the top stuff. As well as allow for this to be taken apart. I got my one hand full, so I can't do this now. But when you take these off and then you take this off, then there's only really one thing left to take off. So there's only 2 things that I have to remove that will be in a display, here and here. So it's not going to be too hard. The rest of it will be kind of above the display, like if it stops here. So I think that's doable. That's just one of the things that I'm trying to figure out in the design. But that's what I have to work with now. And again, okay, so that was just a quick preview. How do I get back to me? Oh, I am on me. I just got to remove this. Sorry. I have to learn what the heck I'm doing. So from that point, it kind of goes on and explains what I did with that wood, those 2 big piles of wood on there. One is sapele, one is maple. And I have to build that stand. But I go deeper into what I do with wood because when you work with raw wood, you can't just go grab it from the store, bring it home into your shop, cut and do stuff with it. What can happen is it will warp, it'll twist, it'll buckle, it'll cup, it'll do all sorts of things. And to prevent that, you need to acclimate it. So I go into acclimation, I go into processing wood, the different planing and jointing types. And I'm doing that because I really believe that a diorama in a display case is a wonderful thing to have in your home. I've mentioned that a number of times. If you can have your diorama on display behind glass, um, I mean, in your den is wonderful, or in your model building room. Mine are primarily in here, but I really did build them with the idea that they could be placed in really virtually any room in the house. I even envision which kind of a setting the diorama would be best in because I think about viewing. What angles do you view the diorama from? High, low. So when I start designing those kind of displays or display cases or whatever, I think it's important to start early because there may be some elements that in the diorama, they have to be changed, they have to be modified to fit the stand, or the stand has to do something integral with the diorama. This one is a huge part of that because of those panels that need to be revealed as you play the game. So this one is even more important than ones I've done in the past. There were just kind of like get the height, get it at the level you should see it at, make sure everything's accessible and stuff like that. That's been their primary goal. This one, it's going to be part of playing the game. It's going to be part of playing the campaign as you go through it. So anyway, that I think is an interesting thing, and I hope you like it. Again, that video drops. That was the beginning of it. That drops tomorrow at 10, and I hope you like it. And please do give me feedback when you watch these things, or even right now. You just say, "Man, this really sucks. Why are you talking so much? Show me some pictures." That's okay too. But I'd really like to see what you think of it, and I'll try to make adjustments to make it better. Okay, so let's go. Where am I going? I need to go back over here and look at that. That's that wood I was talking about. That is now, it's been planed. I explained it's going to probably be next week before I touch it again. It's part of that acclimation process. So now barrels and food crates, another video. Oh my goodness. So here's another video. And what we're doing is, when I first painted these, I painted them, meaning that I just used acrylic paints. And they did this kind of bad streaking that I thought they came out bad. So I'm going to show you this video and I'll be right back. So this is what they looked like last week when I first started painting them. I know I'm not all that tight on it, but can you see? I was using 3 primary colors to try and, I don't know, to try to get some streaking in there, but I wanted to do it in this like high contrast, right? This really high contrast method. And this is what I did. And I just didn't like it. The idea was to paint them first and then do the black bands on them. And they looked okay, but I just didn't like it. Finally, I just said I didn't like it. So what I did was I went back and I posted this. That was from the posting. And I said to folks, I said, look, man, if you got any ideas. Well, I did. I got a bunch of ideas, number one, and a bunch of folks that said, I think they look fine, which is really nice too, because in a certain situation they may have. But I was looking for specifically something. And the one thing that was really important was the fact that I was going to have new barrels, and everything I paint, the wood and all that kind of stuff, it's all aged and it's like grayish and it looks like it's been sitting out in the weather. And I was kind of going down that road with painting it with those stripes, those big stripes. It was terrible. So I got some really nice, which am I going to show you next is what I'm trying to figure out. I got some really nice advice from two friends online. Winston is one of them. And the other, Winston said you should use a dark wash, right? Great. When I was thinking paint, remember, not washes at this point. And so Winston said, a dark wash. And then another person, I looked it up and I can't find the person that suggested this, but somebody said rust, specifically rust, not just dark wash. Well, that's what I use. So these are the colors that I used. And those colors are the very first thing over there on the left-hand side, XF78. That is wooden deck tan, Tamiya. And I like to do this. I like to do my first base coat when I'm painting. Even if I've primed, I'll sometimes do this. But I like to use Tamiya. To me, Tamiya sticks, that it really sticks very nicely. I've had just me. I know there's probably ways around it, but I do wash my plastic and I do prime, and I do, like, if I have like fingerprints on it, so like I do try to get those off before I paint, because those can make paint lift off. But when I go acrylic right into, even acrylic primer right into plastic, sometimes I get some flaking, or I can get some peel. I haven't figured it out yet. I never get that with Tamiya. So my base coat is Tamiya XF78 deck tan, wooden deck tan. Then I'll take oiled earth wash, and that is this wash right here. So these have Tamiya XF78, and then just that oiled earth wash. It just gave me a little definition. It's not too much. It's not really darkening the color at all. Then I use dark rust. Again, these are all acrylic washes, and the last one there is black. So what I did was I took all of these, the ones on the left-hand side, the larger ones, the very dark ones, those have a lot more of the black after I did the oiled earth. And that was to get variations in color. I wanted different tones. The other ones are just the oiled earth, the XF78, and rust. That's it. And I put that on there, and these are when they're still wet, but look when they dry. Once they dried, I went ahead and took just flat black. I'm not done with the banding. The one on the far right, it has a little bit of silvering and dry brushing on it, but the rest of them don't. And this is, I love this. They've got this, to me, just this beautiful chestnut color, and I've got to do more weathering, and I've got to do a little bit of more paint on these, but I absolutely love that tone, that color. And so I'm calling it Winston's process. And I love it. So that is what I do. I use the XF78 for the base, then some oiled earth for just a defining wash. And there are times I went back and put a little bit more oiled earth, or I put on a little bit more black, and again, let everything fade. And as it dried, that's what I got. And I love them. I really, really do love them a lot. It's that chestnut color, and how it blends with everything else in there is just fantastic. And I got a bunch more to do, but that I was just super happy. And I was really messed up with that. I was, man, I I like to have stuff look a certain way. A lot of times, I don't know how I'm going to get there. I don't even know how I'm going to start. And I'll typically fumble through it. But the fact that I got some great feedback, and I switched to washes instead of trying to paint it with acrylic paint, that did it. That was the thing, and so it was Winston and that other person that gave me those suggestions. And that's a really fun thing. I've talked about this before. I thought I would get all weird with people saying, "Hey, do this," or "Hey, do that," or "Why don't you try this?" Because my dad would always say, I remember when we were young and we were building something, and a neighbor would come by and go, "Oh, you got to do that." And my dad would say, "Yeah, well, you pay for it. Get up there, get up the ladder and do it." So I always kind of had that, thought of, I know what I'm doing. I don't need you to tell me. I kind of did. I don't know if it was a chip on my shoulder, but I kind of did. Well, a number of years ago, when I started getting these comments, because I've been doing this 4 years now, I started getting comments, and I'm like, wait a minute, that's a really freaking good idea. I mean, really, I'm no joke. It's just a really good idea. And I'm like, why am I being a doofus? So now, man, people will just come in and give me these great ideas, and I don't use them all, but a lot of them I do, and it's really fun. I mean, I'm taking input from folks just making great I used to say comments, now I say contributors. They're making contributions to the diorama, because I wouldn't have moved forward on that thing. Scott's idea about using a counterbalance to pull that gate back. Mark Doramus is on here. Mark Doramus has given me other stuff when I was doing Carlos Ichiro or Carlos, sorry, Emma Carlos and Ichiro, when I was doing that diorama. A whole section of that was because of Mark Doramus and my conversation about, I'm thinking about this, or where did that fuel cell come from, or do they have enough fuel cell? And it brought into my brain this little display that came out so cool. And we'll look at it later on this year, because I'm going to get it ready for showing next year. The whole point is, if you're one of those folks like I used to be, where you think, look, this is my project, these are my ideas, I've done the research, me, whatever. If you're one of those people, think about really opening yourself up to other people's ideas about your project. It's still your project, and you're making the decisions. And I really don't worry about upsetting anyone, because I tell them, look, that's a great idea, but I'm not sure if I'll use it. But there's been suggestions that I got on one project that I used in another project. So it's wonderful. It just, sometimes when people say critique or feedback or anything like that, they're just like, I don't want to hear it. I think to get better, I'm certainly more harsh on myself in my building than somebody else. Okay, that's a given. It's not that they're saying something that I haven't thought of or something like that, but they may give a new perspective as to why that I hadn't considered. And that is a wonderful thing. Perspective. I've got this thought path in designing this diorama, but these ideas that come in are from their thought path. And it can really, really help. So, man, open yourself up to folks. And if you don't like it, just don't do it. It's totally fine. But if you haven't thought about that before, man, I got to tell you, I'm really enjoying it, because, I don't go in and say, man, you guys tell me what to do. That's not it. That's help. It's literally help. I'm not sure what to do. Here's the parameters. Here's what I'm thinking. I'm explaining all this stuff in comments, but they're awesome. And people go, oh, okay, well, then how about this? And it's not like this big negative thing. It's really fun, because you're bouncing ideas off each other. John Robeck and I, sorry, I'm eating my hair. John Robeck and I do it all the time. When we get online, we got to do it with Scott McLeod last weekend, because it was the all Patreon group build. But that's really fun. I talk to stuff with Mrs. Modelcraft all the time, honestly. And she comes up with great ideas. She came up with a great idea this last week. Amazing idea. Okay. But it's different, you know. She has crafts and she does really, really cool stuff, but she doesn't really build models. But when I ask her about stuff, I understand, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if she understands it or she doesn't build models or anything like that. She can still come in and make a contribution because she is an observer. And sometimes being the creator is maybe gives you blinders where an observer doesn't have blinders. Something to consider. Just think about it. I'm really enjoying it. So, okay, I got a bunch of comments and I got to stop talking. Okay, so John said, "Hello, Bill. Love the random angles on that stone floor." You already said, I'm sorry. We already got the comment, but thank you, John. I really appreciate it. And then Model Mess James says, like Natty idea a lot. Thanks very much. Winston's Wood, very specs. Isn't that cool? And Winston's such a neat guy. Winston's one of these folks that contributes quite a bit. I get those comments, stuff like that. It's not every day. I've got folks that I hear from every day. Scott, Angela, every day. John, just about every day. And we have a neat comment by Angela that we're going to look at later on today. And then Scott says, nobody is twisting your arm to do their ideas. They're volunteering their ideas to help you out. It's up to you to decide. See, that's perfectly stated. I only took 15 minutes to say that, what Scott said properly. But yeah, there you go. So thank you, Scott. All right. We're going to go back to pictures and talk a little bit more about, I don't think we're going to actually talk more about, I got to see where I'm at, about these barrels. But if you have questions, great. I'm going to continue to paint them and stuff like that. Now, though, we are going to look at the food stuff. So this is value gear. I love value gear. I haven't done much to it, but I did the same painting process. I used the wooden deck tan just because of the wood. Then this is virtually the only one I've painted because all of the vegetables in the little cases look like romaine lettuce to me, and or potatoes. So I'm a little bit limited there. But the cool thing is, and I haven't done this yet, but I have mustard seeds. Now, I don't know where they are. They're here somewhere. But if you're ever wondering, trying to find something for apples or oranges, round fruit, mustard seeds. Just regular mustard seeds from your spice cabinet. That's what I use. And they work great. They look really good. So I've got a couple of these little deals from Value Gear that just don't have anything in them. I'm going to put mustards in there so I get a little bit of a variation because everything else kind of looks like, a potato or a yam or something like that. So that's what I'm going to do with those. So let's see what we got. I think we already looked at that, just a bunch more. Now, here is from Angela. So Angela said, do you have somewhere you post pictures of your dioramas? Because I would love to see them. I got to say, for as much as I want people to see my stuff, this question from Angela was just like, holy cow. It was just like, what am I thinking? I've not really done that. I have a website. I have Patreon. I have Facebook. There's hundreds of pictures of they're everywhere, but I have no place that I really set aside to have like a nice gallery of the stuff that I've done. I'm just flabbergasted. So thank you, Angela, for one, but duh. So I need to start working on that. And I'm going to concentrate on a couple of places. Number one, Patreon. Patreon's going to have them. And there's a neat new thing in Patreon where I can manage libraries a heck of a lot better because it was really hard. All you could basically do in Patreon was scroll through, right? If you want to, you could search for stuff if you knew what you're looking for. But if you're new to the site, you don't know what the heck you're looking for. So you're just scrolling through, right? Well, now I can set up basically a subdirectory, or I can set up a collection. And so I will be putting collections of I've got everything, all my dioramas and a lot of pictures I've never posted up. I mean, when I take my pictures and stuff, it's hundreds. So I have terabytes of well, as a matter of fact, I have 76 terabytes of data from my diorama builds. And so I will be posting that on Patreon and also my website, which I started 4 years ago, and I have updated it big fat nada. So I really need to work on my website. But thank you, Angela, for throwing that out there, because I think I just get so, focused, and I got to do this, got to do that. Blah, 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 blah. I totally missed the boat on a very, very simple thing. I got zero to show you. And so I want to build that up, because I really appreciate folks are interested, and they want to look at the stuff I've done, and they want to take a close look at what I've done. And I can provide that, but I've just got to get off my tuchus and do it. So thank you very much. Oh, I got some more. Aaron is here. Hello, Aaron. Great to see you. Man, I somehow always end up late Friday despite trying my very best to remember. That's okay. I mean, it just happens. I hope you're doing well. I hope the flooding is doing well in your neck of the woods. I mean, once these news cycles pass, they don't really tell you, but folks are still messed up in the Carolinas and the Southeast and need help. So I think I hope it's going away. Oh, okay, Aaron. And you and your family are safe. Okay, so pardon me. I got one other thing to show, I think, or talk about. Mommy, I already talked about that. Oh, I didn't finish this up. This was a thought I had earlier, and I was trying to tell you, and I did not. So if you don't mind, each month I have 4 Saturdays. One is going to be a video, a produced, edited, long form video. And I did that last week, that one. Okay. Then the following one, and they may change order for these next ones I'm going to talk about. The next one is the backstage, where I talk about my current project and planning for it. That drops tomorrow. But then I spoke to John Roback, and we kind of, John is really super helpful. John is like one of my longest followers and patron and also YouTube member. So he really has a really great depth of understanding about what I'm trying to do and the projects I'm working on and some of the projects I've done in the past and things like that. So he's really helpful in bouncing off ideas, because I don't always share that with you. But I'd love to, but I don't. So I'm going to try and do that more. So that's what some of these are. And then John and I came up with a couple others that might be interesting for you. So the third week is kind of the third Saturday. Again, these are full length videos, not just live stream stuff like that. Is going to be more project update. I think I need to work on that one because I do project updates all the time. But the last one I'm really excited about is going to be viewer questions, Q&As, taking yours and going in depth in your questions, just like I did with Angela's, but in a longer form video and stuff like that, but also tech and tool. Pardon me. I love tools. I'm a woodworker as well as a diorama maker and just crafts. I love tools and techniques and things you do with your hands and things like that. So I really want to talk to folks about that. I want to tell them what I think of a tool, maybe a special tool that I've made myself that they can make, because I do a lot of that, jigs and things of that nature. And so I'm going to do that once a month, and that's going to be one of those Saturday videos. And I hope that's going to be beneficial to folks. When I first started getting really deep into this, I think I bought, since I am kind of a tool fanatic, I bought more tools than I should have. And I bought some tools that were just junk. I mean, they just were. Now, you don't know until you try them, but still there's, and it, because it didn't work for me, it doesn't mean it wouldn't work for somebody else. But the point is, I want to give those impressions, and I want you to have a little bit more information about some of the tools, techniques, materials, that I use and stuff like that, and go a little bit deeper. I do get those questions a lot. I do get questions about pink foam. I do get questions about terrain. What do you use for this? What do you use for that? And I just want to tell you, yes, I tell you on like the live streams and stuff like that, but I don't have anything that's really, somebody can go to my website and search and find a playlist of those things. And that's really what I'd like to create, is specific playlists about tools and tech and techniques. And there's something that I want to add into that is a little bit adjacent to my niche, which is how to make videos and photograph these things. That's more of if somebody wants to do this themselves. But I think there's a lot of people out there that do, and I think there's a lot of reasons to do it. Not just like I'm doing. I'm literally doing, this is my business. This is what I do. I'm a small business owner. I make no money yet. I make a little bit of money, and it's really nice, the stuff that I do make. But there needs to be a little bit more. And so to get to those places, I'm not going to start selling courses. That's not what I'm here to do. I'm here to give you information on how to get better with your dioramas. But if you do want to film it, I want to talk about my cameras. I want to talk about editing. I want to talk about getting your images out there. And even if you don't want to publish them. And the reason is this: when I first got back into modeling and then joined a modeling club, I want to say it was Rick Taylor. But one of the people at the IPMS Seattle club said, had this idea about documenting your models for future generations of your family. That's a biggie. Models are plastic. Models and dioramas are lightweight. You can probably keep those things going for an awfully long time, but when you're gone, and it's going to happen to all of us, what's going to happen to your models and your dioramas? Well, a really nice thing that you can do is document. Not everybody, but 99% of people now have an intelligent cell phone. You can take your pictures there for some very, if not free, but very inexpensive software. Like I said, if not free, you can edit it and you can produce your own videos, and you can just give them to your family. If I had a video, I actually do. I have a video of my grandfather, and it was 16 millimeter, 8 millimeter, whatever, 8 millimeter, handheld, no sound, black and white. And I didn't see that until I was in my 30s. And I don't remember my grandfather much because he passed when I was very, very young. The thrill of seeing my grandfather walk along a street, I think it was in Grand Teton or something like that. They were on vacation. Walking along a street with my grandmother. It sent shivers down my back because all I had was pictures and memories. And, I've got pictures on the wall, sure, but that's all I had. But then I saw a video. So now we're talking about a new generation of people. I'm 60. So we got a new generation of people that in their futures, to be able to go back and see things, they're going to have them, right? But not if you don't take pictures of them. People are taking pictures of their soup and their chopsticks, but maybe you should take pictures of your models, your process, your dioramas, anything that you craft. What do you want to pass on to people? And what a wonderful way to pass it on in digital form so they can see you, hear you talking, conversing. So there's more to this than just making some funny videos, or enjoyable videos, hopefully. There is a point of preservation of ideas and how you work on something. if you can document how you build your stuff, wouldn't that be wonderful for your family to know 2 or 3 generations down the road? I just thought that was a wonderful thing. So that helped me get into this. I had ideas as to why I wanted to do it, but that was something that was really cool, to know future people in my family are going to be able to see some of these things and maybe understand a little bit about my personality, the things that I do, the way I think, even, you know. Um, how cool is that? So think about that. So that is part of the kind of content that I want to give you in the future, and it's not changing my content type or anything like that. It's all focused around exactly what I do now, which is diorama building. So you can be a diorama builder or a better one, or you can teach me something about dioramas. That's the other part of it. Yeah. So anyway, I just wanted to make sure that I got that out because I really am excited for getting, videos every Saturday now. So let me get back to the stuff. I've got some comments here. Oh, and it looks like Eric is down there. That's wonderful. Yeah, we're doing okay. So Aaron says, yeah, we're doing okay. Still bringing in potable water, but the tap water is good enough to bathe in. Great. But there are still people without power and even some living in tents long term. Isn't that horrible? So that's in the southeast of the United States, the Carolinas, Georgia. I'm not sure everybody that was affected, but man, what a devastating natural disaster. So we're thinking about you, Aaron, and boy, best of luck, man. Best of luck. Eric is here. Hello. Haven't hope you're doing well. Been a while. You look great, sir. I hope you're well. And Eric is great. Eric has been around again. One of those really super long-term folks that has been watching from the start, and I really appreciate that. That's a lot of fun. Aaron says the YouTube algorithm almost hates codification and organization, but it's extremely helpful for those trying to pursue the hobby. Yeah, and I think so. What I used to think about this was I need to make a video that the algorithm is going to trigger on. That's, because there's people saying, oh, you got this algorithm, that. And fair point. But what's the algorithm's purpose? The algorithm's purpose is it's a search engine and it's trying to deliver what people are searching for. I'm one of those people that believes in very small shifts in thinking or perspective can really make a big difference in how you see something. And for me, that's kind of how I see it now. It's not that I'm making a video for an algorithm. I'm making a video that people are looking for and they want to see. If it's a good video, the algorithm will follow. It has to be a good video first. So that's kind of where I'm doing it. Bill, you're hitting me in the feels taking about your grandparents. That's really, really cool. Daniel, my grandparents were distant. We moved, my family moved. So it was always a neat thing to go back and see them. And they were in a completely different world and, that kind of thing, because they were in California and we're in Washington. And so it was a very, very different experience and wonderful. Only they passed when I was quite young, but wonderful memories of it. To be able to have that conversation with a grandparent or a great grandparent, think about that. You're putting stuff in digital form that can be at this point enhanced and blah, blah, blah. So you are really putting stuff in a record that is going to last for a long time. I love old books. Old books are just amazing. I love how they wrote. I love, and not too old, like 1940s and stuff like that. I have some turn of the century, blah, blah, blah. But how they wrote then and how they presented things and how they let you know about their world back then, bound up in this wonderful tome, is really something special. Well, you have that same opportunity now, but it's digital. And that opens up a lot of different ways of saving it, delivering it, and doing something with it later on when you go back to look at it. So it's a pretty neat deal. American Genius, hello, Christian. Thanks very much for coming on. Really appreciate you stopping by. Hey, and I haven't gotten back to you, but I was hoping Sunday, American Genius and I are going to get together and we're going to talk about videos, just kind of like what I was saying. So I hope that works, American Genius. Christian, I'll get back to you. I've got your email. I'm so sorry to get back to you. I was kind of out flat yesterday. I was not doing well yesterday. I did not feel well. And so I didn't get anything done hardly. But today I'm great. So I had like the 24-hour bug or something like that. But I will get back to you, Christian, and set that up. And I am flexible on time for Sunday. So whichever time works great on Sunday for you, I'm 100% in. Works for me, my friend. Thanks very much. I really, really appreciate it. So yeah, so I'm looking forward to that. We're going to get together, and I don't want to be like, oh, me and thing. No, I'll let you know what we're doing. What I'm doing is I'm trying to build something where we can talk about making videos, right? American Genius also has a great YouTube channel, makes some great videos. He just made one, just dropped last week. Really nice build of a truck and a little diorama and stuff like that. And so what we're going to do is we're going to get together periodically and talk about literally video production. And I'm so excited about it. I've never done that with another creator. I've never done it. Now I'm real close because John Robeck, he and I, talk all the time and stuff like that. And he knows a lot about video production. He went to film school. So I'm learning from John all the time. But now what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk to Christian, who's kind of like me, making your videos, making your dioramas, making your models and stuff like that. And you want to present them in the best way so that people could see them. We're going to talk about that process, editing and all that kind of stuff, sound, how, all that. So I'm really looking forward to it. I know I'm going to learn a lot. So thank you very much, Christian. I'm really looking forward to that. And like I said, I'll get back to you for Sunday. Folks, I think we're there. I would really like to show you this, though, because I 100% absolutely love my patrons. And so these web addresses, this is just my YouTube channel, my website, which has even my woodworking and stuff like that, and my Patreon channels. I'll put them in the description, but that's where I was telling you I need to get stuff up and I don't have it. And so these are my patrons, and thank you so much, folks. This is the part of it where I'm able to sustain the channel because of the contributions of these wonderful people. So there are things that are on my Patreon. There are things on for YouTube members, and there are things on my websites. So if you are interested in seeing some of the behind the scenes stuff, seeing things before they come out, and I'm trying to get that little bit more regular schedule, like I just talked about. The plan is to drop the pre-release of the video Wednesday so that it comes out on Saturday for everybody else. So if you're a patron, you see it Wednesday before anybody else. So thank you. That's all I got. I'm done. That's it. I hope you have a wonderful weekend. I am going to be doing a bunch of stuff. We got a cat door for Ghost. So it's getting colder outside, and I have kept the door open all summer so Ghost can come in and out. Gonna have to stop. Ghost is coming in and out, and I'm freezing my what's off. So I have a cat door that my sister and brother-in-law gave to us because they bought two. And so I'm going to be putting a cat door in the side of the shop. I'm doing it through the wall, not the door. So I'm going to actually do it through the side of the wall of the shop so Ghost can come in and out at will. And I won't lose all the heat in here because it was colder, all week. So thank you very much. I have a fun weekend planned. Christian, I will talk to you. And John, I will talk to you tonight because we're going to do our group build. I hope you can make it, sir. Tonight we have the group build with the top patron tier. And right now there's only two people there. It's John and Evan. And so I'm going to invite John and Evan, and we're going to have a 2-hour group build tonight. And that's every Friday night, except for the third week of the month. And that's when we do it on Sunday with everybody. Bobbity. And John says he's going to make it. That's great. I got a bunch of stuff talked about. Be a lot of fun. So thank you so much, everybody. I hope you have a wonderful Friday. I hope you have a wonderful weekend ahead of you. I hope you get out there and enjoy yourselves, relax, watch some football. I sure shall be. And just have a wonderful time. We'll see ya. Bye-bye. I got to turn this off. How? There we go. Later, everyone. Take care and see you next time.